Bombshell tells the story of the women who stood up against the sexual harassment of Roger Ailes, who was the then chairman and CEO of Fox News. With an all-star cast including Charlize Theron, Nicole Kidman, Margot Robbie, Kate McKinnon, and John Lithgow, Bombshell puts the Me Too movement front and center and asks the question, who is complicit when predators are allowed to hunt without repercussion? I'm Ronald Young Jr., and this is Leaving the Theater. All right, this is Ronald Young Jr., and I am leaving the theater again. Second time today after seeing the movie Bombshell. Bombshell is a movie that tells the story about the sexual harassment lawsuits that took down Roger Ailes at Fox News, which were filed by Gretchen Carlson and then supported by other women who also came forward and essentially confirmed that Roger was indeed a creep. Now the movie takes some liberties. There's definitely some poetic license that goes into the actual story that was told. However, from what I've read and what I've researched, they got pretty close to the truth, if not changing the sequencing of events and whatnot to make for a better movie. With all of that being said, I thought this was a pretty good movie. I would say that it got off to a very strong start. I think it had some very strong performances in the movie, especially from Charlize Theron, who played Megyn Kelly, who at one point I kept forgetting was not Megyn Kelly. She nailed that performance. John Lithgow as Roger Ailes, who had a lot of fun playing this role, I can tell, where he is playing not only, someone that John Lithgow probably couldn't be further from as a human, but also he's playing him in a way that makes him out to be the antagonist. So it's easy for you to not be on Roger Ailes' side in this, and which is, I think, is both a good thing and might be one of the drawbacks of the movie, which is that it clearly has a position, which inherently isn't a bad thing to have a position, but in some cases it makes it seem like you're telegraphing it a bit, which could be a little. Sorry about that, was validating my ticket. But it can be a little, I guess saying unfair to the story, I would say. In some cases, it can be misconstrued as not being able to be impartial in telling a story. But again, this is a movie, not the news. So, when I say again, I'm sorry. This is a movie and not the news. So, there's no reason for them to necessarily be impartial. It's not bad for them to take a position. So I'm not necessarily opposed to that part. What gets me though is there's a few times in the movie, especially in the middle, when they run out of harassment story, that they kind of just resort to when they run out of harassment story, they kind of just resort to kind of pontificating about what harassment means for women, what that means for Fox, the state of America today, and in a lot of ways, it feels a little Aaron Sorkin-ish in those parts, and I'm not a huge Sorkin fan, but I especially don't like when the movie kind of takes a moment in the middle and kind of states its purpose, and there was a few times in which I think this movie did that to its detriment. It kind of slowed down the pacing in the middle, which, again, if you're into that and you kind of want to go in there and pump your fist and say, yeah, then it's there, but I'm a person who walked in knowing sexual harassment was bad and knowing Roger Ailes was a creep. So I didn't necessarily need that to enjoy the movie. Those were probably the drawbacks. I want to note a couple other performances. Also, Nicole Kidman did a great job as Gretchen Carlson. I was really enjoying seeing her in this type of role where she's not necessarily the lead, but is very important, and I think she played the role well. All of the women in this movie play their roles very well. They were all working at Fox News, which obviously has an archetype of woman that it looks for. All of these women here did a good job of both being the archetype and in some ways wanting to push against it, but kind of playing the role of acquiescing to it. You know what I mean? Like, this is fine, this is who we are, we're at Fox News, this is what we do, that type of thing. So I think they all did a good job of that. Margot Robbie plays a character in the movie who is not, she's a composite character. She's of several other women who did end up coming forward. So they kind of create her storyline, which is in a lot of ways, again, for the story of the movie, it works. So there's not really any setbacks or drawbacks or bad ideas about being a composite character. But she really made me care about her, and I think she did a good job, though. Brilliant job acting. Wouldn't be surprised if she got an Oscar nod. It's a tight field this year, so probably not. But if she ends up on their Best Supporting, I would not be surprised. I thought they woefully underused Kate McKinnon, and the ways in which they did use her felt a little bit fan servicey. And I won't get into exactly what they did, but if you know about Kate McKinnon as a human, then what they do to her character in the story, for me, I'm just like, I don't know if I don't know if it made the story any better for me. But I love Kate McKinnon, and I want to see her in everything. So if this helps her get more roles, then I'm all for whatever it is. But in terms of the story of the movie, I didn't think it was that great. When it started, I didn't think her role was that great. But she played her role well, if that makes sense. With that being said, I think when I was watching this movie, I expected it to be more vibes on the Social Network. I expected it to be a lot more like that. And it starts off strong, kind of like that, but then it kind of begins to fizzle a little bit. Like I said, with the slow parts in the middle and all that. So that being said, I think I probably gave years ago when I reviewed The Social Network, I probably gave it 4 stars. I expected this movie to probably be close, but it was a good movie. I'll give it 3 stars, 3 of 5 stars, and I think that is an adequate representation of what it is. If the story had been a little stronger, if they had just tightened it up a bit, even if that means using more poetic license, then maybe it would have been a little bit better, but not quite what I wanted it to be, but still a good movie. Yeah. So with that, no guest on this one. I'm staying up late, so it's just me and you. And this is the second part of a doubleheader for those of you that listened to the Rise of Skywalker review, which is available now in the feed, probably the same way you listen to this one. You could find the Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker review. So with that, it's the end of my doubleheader, and I've just got back to my car, so Leaving the Theater is a production of Oh It's Big Ron Studios. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. You can get updates about this show and other Oh It's Big Ron Studios shows by following me on Twitter and Instagram at ohitsBigRon. That's at ohitsBigron. If you like this podcast, check out our sister podcast, Time Well Spent. Leaving the theater, we'll be back very soon, probably for Christmas. But until then, I'll see you at the movies. I think somebody honked right when I said that, so see you at the movies.